60% of revenue for performing arts organizations come from sale of tickets and merchandise and services. And when you think about that kind of business model, it's a risky thing to run a theater, and it's not for the faint of heart. And there's a reason we have Mike Miller at the Wren. He's helped us with great success.
His visionary view of what the arts and education and I guess enlightenment can do for a community is broader and deeper than most of ours that are just strictly looking at dollars and cents. It takes a nice balance of that, but you need somebody like Mike to drive that vision forward.
I believe that the arts in everyone's lives are essential to development, essential to success in life. And it's certainly made me who I am, and I didn't even realize how it would affect me at a young age. I was always interested in singing. My mom used to sing around the house all the time. She loved to sing opera and classical music, and so at a very young age I'd be listening to Caruso and all these artists, and I would sing all the time. I just never remember not singing as a kid. At one point I heard the YMCA Boys Choir under the direction of Dalton Durr. They were auditioning for the choir. And the only thing I knew was Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins. So that was my audition song, and he took me into the choir. So I was the youngest member of the choir at that time. There was a manager scout who just happened to be in the area, and he contacted my parents and he said, "Your son is really talented. Would he be interested in auditioning for a role in an upcoming New York production?" I was the youngest male to ever debut at the New York City Opera at age 11. And after that, it was kind of snowball effect. Once you became a boy soprano and kind of in that circuit, then you start getting calls from all over the place. When we were in school at Lexington, I would come back for a few months and then leave and go on tour and come back. My nickname, of course, was Miller. You know, they would, as I would walk down the hallway, because kids didn't really understand opera singing at that, you know, in Lexington, Ohio. Every show that we did, there was tutoring involved, and we would have classwork for about 3 hours a day. So it was really, when you talk about arts integration, which we do a lot of at the Renaissance now, I was an arts integrated kid. My dad and, of course, my mom worked in the business all the time, and especially around the holidays. And even as little kids, we would do odds and ends around the shop. One of my first jobs in the shop was to fix electric razors. And then my dad, he started training me at the bench to do basic sizings and soldering and welds and fixes and some setting. So I did that all through high school. We did end up coming back to the area in '97, and I was going to help my dad retire and sell the business, and came home one day and told my wife, "What do you think if we took over the business?" And after lots of discussion, we took over the business, and I never looked back. With a retail business, a lot of people say, well, you know, how do you deal with the internet? How do you deal with other people that can sell a less expensive product? Well, we've always had quality. We've always had service. So we tend to repair. We do all of the work in our own store. We have a laser welder. We design, we restore. You know, I love taking grandma's old ring, the diamonds being passed down to the grandson, and designing a mounting for it, or refashioning or repurposing. In all my jobs and even owning my own businesses, I certainly had employees and worked with people, but I didn't consider myself an arts administrator.
The Renaissance has been that historic landmark that has been the center of performing arts for much of Mansfield. Mike came on the Board of Trustees when I was president of the board at that time. I believe it was in 2002. And he became a very valued advisor in that capacity.
I've been president and CEO since 2010. I was on the board for 9 years. And the acting president and CEO, Terry Bergman, at that time, she asked me if I'd be interested in, you know, considering the job.
What we saw in Mike was just a sound mind when it came to understanding theater, symphony, presenting acts, and being able to make certain that revenue is a sought-after outcome of having the successful programming.
At that time, it was probably one of the darkest periods in the 90-year history of the Renaissance Theater, and Mike was tasked with turning that around. We were $1.2 million in debt, with a $2 million budget, with no cost controls, with no audit. Our building was falling apart.
We had a lot of debt, we had a lot of things piling up that hadn't been dealt with, and no one likes dealing with that type of thing, but he jumped right in and started correcting the course immediately.
He immediately had to cut the budget. We had to lay people off. And simultaneously, while doing all that cutting, he had to go out and convince the public that we were viable.
Michael, I think, has brought an earned income model that has been very successful for the Renaissance in locally produced shows.
The expense of bringing in shows that might cost you $50,000 and then you were lucky to even make that revenue back. Being able to create our own shows and do more of them, the profit margin was much higher. We were engaging a local community of actors and artists. Michael Thomas, the artistic director, he and I worked really closely together in changing the way we did musicals and what we could do.
Mike has attracted very good and talented people. You know, they all bring a dimension, whether it's the presenting arts or managing and running the operation, that are extremely valued by Mike.
Mike has been a huge mentor of mine, and I know he's been a mentor to many, many staff, and he works with them to determine opportunities that will help them to really grow in their positions. For me in particular, if I had not had that, I would not be where I am today. I would not be the person I am today, and I'm very grateful for that.
As we say, he is the voice and face of the Renaissance Theater, and you can go beyond that. He's probably the heart and soul of the Renaissance Theater. You know, if we need a trap door cut in the stage, Mike goes and gets a saw, lays it out. He did this.
Mike is the most hands-on boss I've ever had. He is definitely somebody who jumps in and does it instead of delegating. He will delegate when he needs to, but for the most part, he wants to be very, very involved in the operations of everything that we do. And one of the greatest things that we can see is if you put him on a stage and you see him acting and you see that skill level, you know he gets it. You know he really understands why it's important for that to exist in our community. And somehow he takes that feeling that he gets on stage and that passion, and he manages to take it out and explain it well enough to people that they get it.
He wants to be involved in every aspect of it, and that's what makes him such a great leader down there, his capability to see it from every angle rather than just sitting at a desk looking out over it.
We've been able to restore the theater. We've done a new roof, we've done brickwork, we've done plaster restoration. We've spent almost $800,000 in upgrading and maintaining the theater without incurring additional debt.
He's paid off over $1 million of debt that we had accumulated at that time, which is just an incredible feat.
He never wants to tell you how much he's actually done, but in all fairness, most people would have walked away. This was almost impossible to do.
The Renaissance is just an amazing place. I think everything I've done in my life has brought me to the Renaissance in skill set, and I learn stuff every day.
As we look to the future, there's a new challenge ahead of us, and there's always been discussion of having a theater arts district.
We could build an imagination district which focuses on youth, arts, engaging people from every walk of life.
It's going to revitalize the block. It's going to be a new entry into downtown that people can be proud of.
The Education Center will house a classroom area on the second floor, and also a scene shop, a recording studio, and a smaller performance area.
We do have the new vision with the Imagination District that is expanding our footprint. It is expanding the work that we do. We want it to be a place that everyone feels comfortable and everyone is able to come and engage in the arts and learn about the arts and to really take back something that is uniquely their own.
Arts should start young and be a part of your life through your entire life. And maybe that's one of the most important things about Mike. He's someone who actually has done that, from being a child prodigy to doing what he's done in recording studios and then coming back to Mansfield, and at the same time still maintaining that capability and dedication to the arts, not only about promoting the arts, but actually being a part of the arts.
The more that we can engage the community and offer what we offer and what we hope to offer in the future, the better we are as people, as a human race.